Revealed, Millionaire Fiancé'S secret affair with MOMLED2 incredible payback at their wedding. The sun shone brightly on Maplewood that morning, illuminating the town with a golden hue. Sarah, the beloved waitress at the Maplewood diner, had a bounce in her step as she served slice after slice of her famous apple pie. The warmth of coffee brewed in the air mixed with her infectious laughter, drawing smiles from regulars and travelers alike. She felt like the luckiest woman alive. Love was in the air, and she couldn't wait to tie the knot with Jason, the dashing heir to a local fortune. They were the perfect couple, the town's fairy tale romance wrapped in hope and promise. But as the wedding date neared, a dark shadow loomed over her happiness. Whispers traveled like wildfire through the streets. "Did you hear about Jason?" people murmured, casting furtive glances at Sarah. The sweet aroma of baked goods transformed into an acrid tension that choked her joy. Unbeknownst to her, a shocking betrayal brewed beneath the surface. Jason, the man of her dreams, had stumbled into an affair with her own mother, Linda, a secret that would break her heart more than any words could describe. With each step Sarah took around town, she felt the air grow thicker. Friends offered pitying looks that made her stomach churn. "You're gonna have the wedding of your dreams, Sarah," they'd say, yet their eyes didn't mirror the same hope. The late-night conversations in her head twisted into nightmares where laughter turned to betrayal, where the vibrant town square became a prison adorned with colorful lies and false pretenses. As June 15th approached, Sarah's heart ached with unspoken dread despite the celebratory preparations around her. Flowers were being arranged, and her bridal gown hung in anticipation, while beneath it all, something sinister festered. She couldn't shake the feeling that her fairy tale was hiding a monster. Then came the day of her wedding, the sun casting a warm glow as friends and family gathered in the square, the same place she had dreamed of marrying Jason. Sarah twirled in her dress, blissfully unaware of the storm about to break. As the ceremony commenced, a hush descended over the crowd, a moment pregnant with tension. It was here that someone rose to speak, shaking the foundation of her world. The air crackled as unsettling details erupted, the truth unveiled in a gut-wrenching revelation. "You think you're marrying a prince," the unexpected voice said, "but Jason has been with Linda, Sarah's own mother." Murmurs rippled like a wave, drowning Sarah in disbelief, her vision blurring around the edges. The joyous crowd transformed into a sea of judgment, faces filled with shock, empathy turned to disdain. Heart racing, Sarah felt her hopes shatter, the weight of loyalty, love, and familial bonds crashing down. The community watched her, silent witnesses to the unraveling of innocence. Emotions swirled, heartbreak, fury, and disbelief filling her chest like the weight of lead. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. With the shattering of her bliss came the stirring of something pure within her, an ember igniting amidst the ruins. As the weight of betrayal lingered, doubt began to curdle into determination. How could she rise again? Sarah stood on that altar, vulnerable yet unyielding, and the question lingered, could she redefine herself after such hurt? Caught between forgiveness and moving on, Sarah's heart raced as she met the community's eyes. Would she turn her back on the love that once filled her heart with light, or would she embrace the power that resided within her, ready to forge a new path? The world held its breath, waiting for her choice as the dust settled around her shattered dreams. Sarah's breath came in quick, frantic bursts as she stood there, a whirlwind of emotions colliding within her. The church pews creaked and shifted, a ripple of confusion washing over the guests, and she could feel their eyes assessing her every moment, their whispers weaving a tapestry of judgment around her. She blinked against the bright sunlight, her heart pounding like a drum, each beat underscoring the dawning realization that nothing in her life would ever be the same again. In that charged atmosphere, an unexpected clarity filtered through her panic. Maybe this was her moment not just to respond to betrayal but to reclaim herself. She felt the eyes of her friends and family, some sympathetic, some aghast, and the corners of her mouth twitched. She wouldn't give them the satisfaction of seeing her crumble. With a deep inhale, she chose to stand taller and let the determination seep into her bones. "Jason," she called out, her voice firm despite the churning inside her. The crowd quieted, stunned. "You chose to betray me, but I won't be the victim here." There was power in her confession, a strength she didn't know she possessed. Jason flinched, his face a mixture of panic and regret, but she didn't look at him. Instead, she turned her eyes toward her mother, Linda, who sat frozen with shock. The betrayal felt like a fist to her gut, but as sharp as the pain was, it also sparked something deeper, something fierce. "Mom," she said, the word bitter on her tongue, "how could you?" Linda's face crumpled, and tears welled up in her eyes. I never meant to hurt you, sweetheart," she whispered, her voice choked, but Sarah refused to let pity wash over her now. She had to pull away from the ties that threatened to drag her under. "Your regret isn't enough," Sarah replied, her voice regaining strength. Just as she felt the tears threatening to spill, she felt something akin to peace settle over her heart. Refusing to back down, she lifted her chin higher. "You can't have relationships built on betrayal. That's not love. That's a lie." Gasps echoed around the square. Friends nodded, some even murmured their agreement. She felt the crowd shift, their pity transforming into respect. Sarah understood the power of vulnerability, how it could draw people in instead of breaking them apart. She could reshape her narrative. Gathering her emotions, Sarah let passion fuel her words. "This wedding was supposed to be a celebration of love, but now it becomes my rebirth. I'm no longer Sarah, the girl dreaming of a life with a prince. I am Sarah, the woman who stands alone but is completely free." The weight of her declaration filled the air, enveloping the crowd in a solemn disbelief mixed with admiration. She scanned the faces before her, catching glimpses of understanding and support. What did she want to do next? A new path lay ahead, fraught but full of possibilities. Without looking back, she took a step forward, away from the altar, breaking the hold of that moment. "I have to find my way from here." Outside, the sun shone brighter, the warmth casting away the shadows of betrayal. But deep down, curiosity wrapped around her heart. Had she released the bonds of hurt, or was this the beginning of an even greater battle? What awaited her in the echoes of Maplewood's history, where love turned sour and loss loomed? The future felt unsteady, but one thing was certain: this time she would carve her own story. And as she stepped into the unknown, a question hung in the air. Could Sarah truly thrive on her own, or would the weight of her past catch up with her? The sun cast warm, golden rays as Sarah strode through the church doors, a whirlwind of emotions trailing behind her. Each step resonated with a newfound sense of freedom. Her heart raced, but now it was mixed with anticipation rather than grief. She could hear faint murmurs behind her, confusion and disbelief echoing in the air, but none of it mattered. She was finally stepping into her OWN.A. As she approached the steps leading down into the lawn, Sarah took a moment to pause. She closed her eyes, inhaling deeply. The scent of spring flowers wafted around her, fresh and invigorating. Nature had a way of reminding her of the beauty still left to discover. She felt lighter, each breath clearing away the remnants of betrayal that had clung to her. When she opened her eyes, her best friend Mia stood there waiting, her expression a mix of concern and pride. "You were amazing, Sarah. I can't believe you said all that." "Thank you," Sarah breathed out, her voice steadier now. I had to say something. To stand up for myself." Mia nodded, her brown curls bouncing as she took a step closer. "You know, everyone's talking about it. They're in awe of you." For a moment, Sarah's heart swelled. She had won their respect. But the thought of Jason and her mother still felt like storm clouds lingering in her mind. "What do I do now, though? This isn't over. It just feels like the beginning again. Why don't we go grab a drink? There's a new cafe just down the street. You can't stay stuck in this moment. You deserve a break." The thought of a carefree afternoon filled with laughter appealed to her. Maybe this was the moment to let loose and shake off the weight from the past. Sarah agreed, and together they walked toward the cafe, the chatter of Maplewood surrounding them. The town knew her well, she had sprouted roots here, but she had never felt quite this free. With each footfall, she thought about what it meant to redefine herself. Her future icons remained more than vivid dreams, they were whole entities waiting to be explored. As they settled at a small patio table under a bright yellow umbrella, Mia reached across the table and squeezed her hand. "You're going to be okay, you know. This will not define you forever." Sarah appreciated her optimism but felt a stubborn knot forming in her stomach. But what if I still hurt inside? What if this betrayal keeps creeping back like a shadow? I can't let it. You will face this and rise above it. Every great story has battles to fight. And usually, those battles with time lead to something beautiful. Sarah looked into her friend's eyes, soaking in the sincerity. She wanted to believe it, she needed to harness that positivity. What if I can't move forward? What if the past catches up to me? Mia raised her eyebrow playfully. When has that ever stopped a strong woman like you? You're the girl who just stood up in front of the whole town. You can handle anything. The promise of hopeful possibilities filled the air. For the first time in what felt like forever, Sarah cracked a smile that bubbled up from deep within. Maybe she could face this looming uncertainty. As they laughed over pastries and coffee, the warm sunlight seemed to cast a glow around Sarah. However, deep down she wondered, would she be tested again? What if Jason tried to come back, to reclaim the love she had cast aside? Did she have the strength to resist, or would she find herself entangled once more? When a sudden gust of wind swept the napkins off the table, she grasped onto her remaining clarity. Maybe the winds of change were the very breath of opportunity. But the tension lingered in the air. Was she ready for what came next, or was another storm waiting just around the corner? As Sarah and Mia finished their pastries, the miles of laughter and conversation felt like a soft shield against the worries nipping at Sarah's heart. Yet, with each sip of her coffee, the shadows of the past kept whispering, reminding her of what lay ahead. She forced herself to focus on the present, on the blooming sense of freedom that unfurled like the petals around her. Suddenly, her phone buzzed, shattering the momentary peace. Its screen lit up with Jason's name, and for an instant, Sarah felt her breath hitch in her throat. Just seeing his name flooded her chest with a mix of rage and nostalgia. After a quick glance at Mia, who raised her eyebrows expectantly, Sarah steeled herself and swiped her finger across the screen. "Hey," he said, his voice rolling through her like a tidal wave of memories. "Can we talk? Talk?" The word nearly slipped out as a laugh, but she caught herself just in time. "What's left to say, Jason? You made your choices. I know, and I messed up. Being here without you, it's been hell. Please, just give me a chance to explain." "Explain what?" Sarah leaned back, squeezing Mia's hand tightly. Her heart thudded with the thrill of the moment. The victory she had just carved out for herself was now being tested. "You had your chance when it mattered. You chose, I chose wrong," he interjected, desperation bleeding through his words. "Please, Sarah. I need you to believe me. I'm not the man you think I am." She could feel the adrenaline spiking within her. His words were like a charm, tugging at her heartstrings and blurring the lines she had fought to define. "I don't want to talk about this, Jason." But inside, the skepticism teetered an internal wrestling match. She wanted to believe that maybe he had changed, that maybe they could work through the mess of emotions. Still, a flicker of caution lingered, reminding her of the betrayal that had fractured her. "Just think about it," he pleaded. "I'll be at the old oak tree by the park tomorrow at noon if you decide to meet." Before she could respond, he hung up. The silence that followed felt oppressive, as if the air around them thickened. Mia's hand remained firm in hers, grounding her. "What are you thinking?" Mia asked quietly, her eyes searching Sarah's face. "I don't know." The truth hung heavy in the air. "He's not that person anymore, right? He can't just expect me to forgive him because he says he has changed. It feels impossible. You owe it to yourself to decide. But remember why you stood up today, That was for you, not for him. Mia's steady gaze steadied Sarah's racing thoughts, but didn't fully dissolve the storm within her. How could she explore her future if the ghosts of her past were still lingering? Mia changed the subject, chatting about upcoming summer plans and events in town, but the words were distant, muffled by the haze of uncertainty. Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that she was at a crossroads, and each direction held its own consequences. As the sun began its descent, casting soft hues of orange and pink across the sky, Sarah felt the weight of choices pressing down on her heart. Was it time to put the past to rest or revisit the love she thought was lost? Mia's laughter jolted her back to reality. They finished up at the cafe, but as they walked toward the car, Sarah couldn't shake the unease pooling in her stomach. That tree, she felt an undeniable pull. Would it lead to closure, or would it open old wounds? The closer they got to the car, the more she felt the shift in the air. Change was coming, she could feel it. But another thought haunted her. What if confronting Jason brought more heartache than healing? Feeling almost lightheaded, Sarah made a decision, one that would alter the course of her life. Mia, can we drive to the park? I need to think. Without a plan? Mia shot her a knowing look. I think a part of me needs to go back, even if just to close the door, she whispered. As they drove, her anxieties swirled like the autumn leaves dancing around them. Would she truly find peace at the oak tree, or would she discover that some secrets weren't meant to be unearthed? Tomorrow would hold the answers. She just hoped she was ready for what waited at the end of that path. The next morning felt electric, the air shimmering with possibilities. As Sarah glanced out the window, her heart raced in sync with the fluttering leaves outside. Today was the day she'd face Jason and the tangled web of their past. She took deep breaths, trying to steady the storm inside her. Mia was quiet, sensing the weight hanging over Sarah. They drove in silence for a while, the radio playing soft tunes that only fueled Sarah's thoughts. Memories flooded her mind, times spent laughing under that oak tree, dreaming of futures and forever love. Now, those memories felt tainted, like the vibrant colors had faded and turned gray. I can drop you off and wait in the car if you want, Mia suggested, her voice gentle, breaking through Sarah's reverie. You don't have to do this alone. No, I need to do this by myself. I have to figure out what I want. Mia nodded, though anxiety lingered in her eyes. They arrived at the park, and Sarah's heart hammered as she stepped out of the car. The sun peeked through the branches, creating a dappling effect against the grass, but it did little to calm her nerves. With each step toward the oak tree, she felt the weight of her past pressing against her. What if she wasn't ready? What if Jason's words only reopened wounds that had barely begun to heal? Still, she pressed on, determined. As she approached, she saw him waiting. He leaned against the tree, hands shoved deep in his pockets, his expression a mixture of hope and uncertainty. He was still the man she had loved, yet somehow, he felt so foreign. Hey, she called, her voice steady, though her pulse raced. Sarah, he said, pushing off the tree to stand taller. The moment their eyes locked, a flood of emotions surged between them: anger, love, regret. I came, she started, gauging his reaction. But I'm not here to relive the past. I don't want either. I want to explain what happened. No excuses, just the truth. Sarah swallowed hard, feeling the weight of his words. Then go ahead. He hesitated, as if the truth burned on his tongue. When I walked away, I thought it was the right choice. But every day since, I've regretted it. I lost you, and I messed up. His voice cracked, revealing a vulnerability she hadn't seen before. Regrets don't fix anything, Jason. You hurt me. You broke everything we built together. I know, he said, stepping forward. But please, let me show you how much I've changed. I've been going to counseling, working on myself. I want to be better, not just for you, but for me. I need you to see that I'm not that person anymore. Tension hung heavily between them, and Sarah felt her heart tug. What do you want from me? I want a chance. Not just to be in your life, but to earn back your trust, he said, his voice full of yearning. I know I don't deserve it, but I promise I'll fight for you. For us. It felt like a lifeline thrown into turbulent waters, but Sarah wasn't sure she was ready to grab onto it. She caught her breath, searching deep inside for an answer. What if this was the moment everything changed? But what if it doesn't? She managed to whisper, stepping back. What if he couldn't be who she needed him to be? Jason's eyes filled with intensity, a sincere plea shining through. Then I'll walk away and let you find your peace, no strings attached. But you deserve to know there's more to my story. Her heart twisted, caught between the love she once felt and the wounds that still throbbed. I'm terrified, Jason. I don't want to get hurt again, she confessed, vulnerability spilling out. Neither do I, he replied, his voice softening. But I believe we can begin again, if you're willing. In the hush of the park, under the sprawling boughs of the oak tree, the past felt alive and pulsing around them. Could she trust him? Could she let him in again? As doubts swirled, she realized this moment was also about her, how much she could forgive, how much she could risk. Would this be the beginning of healing or a step deeper into pain? The sun warmed her face, illuminating her decisions like light through the leaves. And as she looked into Jason's eyes, the question hung in the air: was she ready to open that door, or would it stay locked forever? Just then, a distant siren blared, jolting her from her thoughts. Sarah felt her stomach drop. What if this choice changed everything? What if she couldn't go back if she opened this door? And suddenly, she knew that whatever path she chose today would mark the beginning of something new. She just hoped it wouldn't lead her into darkness again. The air crackled with tension, and Sarah swallowed hard, her mind racing. Jason's words hung between them, heavy and uncertain like a storm cloud ready to burst. He was asking her to step into the unknown, to tear down the walls she'd built around her heart. What do you really want, Jason? She asked, her voice shaky but firm. He stepped closer, the desperation in his eyes matching the urgency in the air. I want a chance to prove to you that I'm different. I want to work for your trust. I want us again. That's not fair, she breathed, shaking her head. You made your choice once, and it hurt me. How am I supposed to believe you won't hurt me again? Because I'm hurting too, Jason replied, his voice taking on a tremor. I'm done running away. This time, I'm ready to fight for what I want, and I want you. A silence bloomed in the space between them, filling her with a mix of fear and longing. What if he was telling the truth? What if this time would be different? You think it's easy to just open my heart again? No, I don't, he said, desperation lacing his tone. But I believe in second chances, in redemption. I want to work for it. I want to earn every single piece back. Sarah felt her heart pound violently, caught in a whirlwind of emotions. The laughter they once shared seemed like a different lifetime. Now, it felt like a faint echo, barely audible over a wave of hurt. And yet, she couldn't shake the flicker of hope that he might be right. Maybe people could change. Maybe they could find their way back to each other, but at what cost? Mia's waiting for me, she finally said, taking a step back. I need to think. Jason nodded, that flicker of disappointment washing over his face like a shadow. I understand. I didn't want to overwhelm you. Just don't shut me out completely, okay? Please. There was a desperation in his voice that echoed in her heart, and for a brief moment, she wanted to rush into his arms, to feel the warmth of his embrace and forget the pain. But she held herself steady, breathing deeply to ground herself. I'll think about it, she managed. Just think about the good times, the love we had, he urged, desperation escaping in the way he searched her eyes. Let us not let the past define our future. With that statement lingering in the air, she turned to walk away, each step feeling heavier than the last. The park felt different now, as if it too were holding its breath, waiting for her decision. Mia's car came into view, its familiar presence almost comforting. Yet doubts crawled into her mind, questioning her resolve. Would slipping back into something once familiar bring her joy or just lead her into deeper pain? As Sarah reached the car, she glanced back one last time. Jason stood beneath the oak, looking small and lost, a stark contrast to the laughter they once shared. In that moment, A deep groove of longing carved itself into her heart. "Do you really think you can change, Jason?" she whispered to herself, the wind carrying her question into the open sky. The answer felt both like a promise and a threat. With Mia watching her closely, Sarah hopped into the car and sighed, her head spinning with everything that had just unfolded. She could feel her heart battling with her head, tipping the scales of decision in two different directions. Just as Mia turned the ignition, Sarah thought she heard Jason call her name again. It echoed like a haunting refrain, and in that moment she knew she was standing on the edge of something life-altering, teetering between hope and fear. Was it the end of their story, or just the beginning? With a heart full of questions, Sarah peeled away from the park, contemplating if she was willing to unlock the door to her past or carefully keep it ajar for the future that awaited. A future that now felt like a ship in the fog, both daunting and promising. Would she dare to navigate those uncertain waters with him again? The drive home felt like a blur, the scenery melting into a dull haze of greens and grays. Mia stole occasional glances at Sarah, sensing the turmoil within her friend. The hum of the engine was the only sound, a stark contrast to the thunderstorm brewing in Sarah's heart. As they pulled into Sarah's driveway, she felt a knot tightening in her chest. Home should have felt warm and inviting, but it only amplified her restless thoughts. "I'm going to take a minute," Sarah said, climbing out of the car and heading toward the front porch. Mia followed but stood at the base of the steps, hesitant. "You sure you don't want to talk about it?" "I just need to be alone for a few minutes." Mia nodded, understanding the weight of silence. She watched her friend approach the door, the sky above mirroring Sarah's mood, cloudy and fraught with uncertainty. Inside, she sank onto the couch, the cushions engulfing her like a soft embrace. She closed her eyes, letting the chaos of the day wash over her. Memories of laughter and love with Jason danced through her mind, but so did every painful moment he had caused her. How could she reconcile the two? Her phone buzzed on the coffee table, jarring her from her reverie. It was a text from Jason, and her heart raced as she unlocked the screen. "I know it's a lot, but I can't stop thinking about you. Let's talk tomorrow? Please?" A part of her burned with frustration. Did he really think a simple message would solve everything? But there was another part that wanted desperately to reach out, to feel the connection she once cherished. Why was this so complicated? She tossed the phone aside and headed to the kitchen. Maybe a cup of tea would help clear her mind. As she waited for the kettle to whistle, she peeked out the window, scanning the street for any sign of him. Nothing but empty pavement and distant sounds filled the air, amplifying her sense of loneliness. Her phone buzzed again, this time with a group chat notification from her sister and childhood friends. The conversation was light-hearted, filled with memes and jokes, but it felt painfully distant. "You okay?" Mia's voice broke through her thoughts, pulling her back into the moment. "Not really," Sarah admitted, finally feeling the weight of all her bottled emotions. "I don't know if I can trust him again." Mia stepped closer, leaning on the door frame. "You know what I think? You deserve to feel loved, to feel secure. If you decide to give him a chance, it should stem from what you want, not fear. But also listen to your gut." "I know," she sighed, exasperated. "It's just, what if giving him a second chance means giving up on myself? Or it might mean embracing the life you want. You'll never know if you don't explore it." Her words hung in the air, heavy yet full of possibility. Maybe Mia was right. Maybe facing the past could lead to something new, something beautiful, even if it was scary. "Tomorrow," Sarah finally whispered, "I'll meet him. I owe it to myself to at least listen." Mia smiled, a blend of pride and encouragement shining in her eyes. "That's the spirit. You've got this." As Sarah sipped her tea, warmth spreading through her, she felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps this was her chance to reclaim her narrative. Still, the storm clouds lingered in the back of her mind, reminding her of the shadows that could easily creep back in. Could she really step into the light and trust again, or was she setting herself up for heartbreak once more? With her heart still racing, she stared at her phone, knowing tomorrow would challenge everything she believed about love and forgiveness. But deep down, she also sensed that it was time to confront her fears. Let us see what tomorrow brings, she murmured to herself as she took another sip, feeling both terrified and alive. But the deeper question lingered: what would she find at the edge of this new beginning? The morning sun peeked through the sheer curtains, casting soft beams across the room. Sarah woke to a mix of excitement and dread. Today was the day. She felt the weight of anticipation in her stomach, as if 1,000 butterflies had been set free. After a moment of hesitation, she sat up, taking a deep breath. "You can do this," she whispered to herself, looking in the mirror. Her reflection was both familiar and foreign, a blend of girl-next-door innocence and the battle-hardened woman she'd grown into since Jason had entered her life. She took a quick shower, letting the steam clear her mind, hoping it would wash away some of her doubts. Each drop of water felt like a cleansing ritual, making way for a fresh perspective. As she dressed, she chose her favorite sweater, a warm, cozy olive green that brought out her eyes and gave her a sense of comfort amidst the chaos of today. With her phone in hand, she hesitated. Should she text Mia? The need for validation tugged at her. A brief message expressed the swirl of emotions inside. Just getting ready? Can't believe today's the day, but before she hit send, her finger hovered above the screen. No need to worry her friend just yet. As she walked into the kitchen, the scent of brewing coffee filled the air. She poured herself a cup, the warmth of the mug seeping into her palms. Outside, the world was alive, birds chirping, leaves rustling, a refreshing breeze sweeping through the trees lining her street. For a moment, she felt connected to it all, hopeful. As the clock ticked closer to her meeting with Jason, doubts resurfaced. What if he had not changed? What if meeting him only opened old wounds? A part of her wanted to turn back, to find solace in her routine, far from the potential heartbreak. But deeper still was a need to find out for herself, to discover if there was a way to reconnect. Mia's phone call broke in, drawing her from her spiraling thoughts. "Hey. Just wanted to check in." "Hey," Sarah replied, trying to inject enthusiasm into her voice. "I'm getting ready. You know you've got this. Just remember, you're in control. Whatever happens, you can handle it." "Yeah. I just don't want to go in blind," she admitted, her voice wavering. "What if he manipulates me again? Just keep trusting yourself. You know more now you've grown. Don't let fear hold you back from finding clarity." With a deep breath, Sarah ended the call. She needed to trust herself. She was stronger than she once believed. As the appointed hour approached, the unease in her gut transformed into adrenaline. She grabbed her bag and headed out. The world outside seemed brighter than before, colors more vivid. Before she knew it, she was standing in front of the coffee shop they had always frequented. The familiar place held both sweet memories and painful echoes. Sarah paused at the entrance, heart hammering in her chest. She could see him seated near the back. Jason, with that boyish charm still intact, was lost in thought, glancing at his phone. A wave of old affection mingled with frustration coursed through her. Drawing in a steadying breath, she pushed the door open. It creaked, breaking the silence as eyes turned to her. Jason's head snapped up, and for a moment, time seemed to freeze. "Sarah," he stood, an expression of hope mixed with uncertainty washing over his face. "Hey," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. But then, the flicker of fear crept back in. What if this encounter wasn't solely about them? What if they unearthed secrets that had been buried too long? "Can we talk?" she asked, her heart racing as she approached him. "Yeah. We really need to," he said, and the weight of those words settled heavily between them. As they sat down, a silence enveloped them, pregnant with unsaid words. She sensed more than just rekindled feelings. A storm was brewing, one that might change everything. What truth lay beneath Jason's hopeful gaze? Sarah's heart pounded with the prospect of discovery, her mind already racing with possibilities. Could this be the moment that reshaped everything she thought she knew about love? As she searched his eyes, the tension crackled, leaving her wondering what revelations awaited them both. Her journey into the storm had just begun. The moment hung in the air, thick with unspoken words. Sarah looked at Jason, remembering the laughter they once shared, the plans they had made. But now, it was different. The atmosphere buzzed with tension, like electricity before a storm. "Thanks for meeting me," Jason said, a softness in his tone that tugged at her heart. Sarah shifted in her seat, the wooden chair creaking beneath her. She couldn't help but notice how he was dressed just for this occasion, subtle yet sharp, the way he always had. It sent her mind reeling back to the times they'd dressed up for memories that now felt like a lifetime away. "Of course. I thought it was important," she replied, her voice steadier than she felt. She took a sip of her coffee, the bitter taste grounding her. "So, how have you been?" "Busy. You know how it is. Life moves fast." He ran his fingers through his hair, a nervous gesture that made him look less like the confident man she remembered and more like the boy she once loved. "I've done a lot of thinking since everything happened." There it was. The elephant in the room, looming larger than ever. Sarah's pulse quickened. She wanted to know what he thought, what had changed in him. But did she dare to ask? "What do you mean by everything?" Jason took a deep breath, eyes lowering to the table. "About us, about how things ended. I wish I had handled things differently." "Really?" she said, surprise spilling out. The vulnerability in his voice struck a chord within her. Did he truly feel regret, or was this just the charade she feared? "Because I remember feeling so alone, like there was this constant shadow looming over everything. You were the one who left." He winced at her words, and for a moment, Sarah thought she saw a flicker of pain in his expression. "I know," he admitted softly. "I didn't just leave you, I left myself. I thought I was doing what was best, but it broke us." "Best for who?" she asked, feeling a rush of heat in her chest. "It certainly wasn't best for me." They locked eyes, and for an instant, it felt like a raw honesty enveloped them. Jason reached across the table, his hand hovering, unsure if he should bridge the distance. "I want to explain. I need you to know the truth. About my family, about why I walked away." Sarah's heart thundered in her chest. This was the confrontation she had been dreading, but now, it felt oddly freeing. "Then just tell me," she urged, her voice steady despite the turmoil inside. "What's the truth?" With a heavy sigh, Jason leaned closer, his gaze intense. "I got caught up in expectations. My family made decisions for me. They pressured me into a situation with someone else, someone they thought would be appropriate. I was drowning in it, Sarah. And when I tried to break free, I was scared of losing everything." The words hung between them, and Sarah felt her heart ache. She always sensed there was something more, a reason behind Jason's withdrawal. "So, you let me go?" she pressed, her voice barely above a whisper. "You didn't even fight for us?" "I was scared of fighting for the wrong thing," he said, his eyes pleading. "But now, I realize you were everything that was right. I made the biggest mistake of my life." A rush of conflicting emotions surged through her, anger, sadness, and a flicker of hope all combined. This revelation carried weight, but could it truly change anything? Could they rebuild on the ruins of their past? Sarah could feel the world around them fading, the vibrant sounds of the coffee shop, the laughter, the clinking of cups. They fell silent as the moment expanded. But just as she prepared to respond, Jason's phone buzzed violently on the table, shattering their fragile bubble. He glanced down, the warmth in his face extinguishing in an instant. "I'm sorry, I need to take this," he said, a hint of regret creeping into his voice as he picked it up. His expression shifted as he read the message, and Sarah felt a chill run through her. What was it that could break this moment? "Jason?" she asked, her heart racing again as she watched his expression darken. "I can't," he stammered, backing away from the table. "This is about my family. I need to handle it. Can we talk later?" "Wait!" she called out, grasping for the last threads of the moment before he slipped away. "What do you mean, your family? What's going on?" But he was already backing toward the door, worry etched across his face. Beneath the chaos, Sarah felt a relentless thud of uncertainty in her chest. What was happening? Did she just lose him again before they truly began? As the door swung shut behind him, her heart sank. Why did it always have to come down to secrets and shadows? What details lay waiting in the dark that she had yet to uncover? With a pulse of anxiety, Sarah was left alone, contemplating not just Jason's words but the implications of what he had yet to reveal. Was this truly the end, or merely a pause in their tangled story? The sun dipped low in the sky, casting long shadows that danced in the late afternoon light. Sarah sat in the bustling cafe, surrounded by muted chatter and the comforting aroma of brewed coffee, but the world felt impossibly distant. Jason had left so abruptly, leaving behind a whirlwind of uncertainty and questions. Could they truly build something new? Or was this just an echo of the heartbreak she had fought so hard to leave behind? Her mind raced as she replayed their conversation in a loop, desperately searching for clarity. But all she could grasp was the haunting fear of being caught in the same trap. With Jason gone, a heaviness settled deep within her, a stark reminder that she still had a choice lying ahead in the tangled threads of her heart. With determination blazing inside her, Sarah reached for her phone, her fingers trembling. She typed out a quick message to Mia, "Can you come pick me up?" Less than a minute later, her phone buzzed with an enthusiastic "On my way." The reassurance grounded her momentarily, but another thought surfaced: what if Jason resolved his family issues and never returned? Minutes later, Mia's car pulled up, and Sarah stepped outside, the cool breeze brushing against her cheeks. As she slid into the passenger seat, Mia's eyes sparkled with curiosity. "Hey, what happened? You look like you've seen a ghost." "I don't know, Mia. Things were going okay, and then everything fell apart again. He just left." Mia frowned, the compassion in her gaze softening the weight of Sarah's frustration. "You stood up for yourself today, and that's huge. Keep reminding yourself of that power." "But what if it was for nothing?" Sarah bit her lip, her heart constricting with uncertainty. "What if, after all this, he just disappears for good? Then that's his loss, not yours. You're not defined by him, or his actions. Remember that, okay?" Mia's words struck a chord deep within her. Maybe this moment wasn't about holding on to hope for Jason. Maybe it was about embracing the vibrant, unfiltered future waiting patiently for her to claim it. Arriving back home, Sarah stepped inside and sank onto the couch, feeling the warmth of her surroundings wrap around her. The thought of retreating into solitude tempted her, but instead, she focused on carving out a space for herself, not as a half of a couple but as a complete person. She picked up a pen and paper, jotting down her thoughts, the letters spiraling from her heart as she poured out her emotions. Page after page filled with dreams, fears, hopes, and most importantly, realizations about who she wanted to be. Hours later, she looked back at her notes, with a sense of accomplishment coursing through her veins. No matter what happened with Jason or the mess of their past, she had the power to shape her own future. Just as she closed her notebook, the shrill buzz of her phone shattered the quiet evening. It was Jason. Her heart raced as she hesitated, then resolved to face whatever might come next. If she was going to embrace her truth, she had to answer it. "Hey," she said, her voice steady despite the pounding of her heart. "Sarah. I'm so sorry. It was my mother. She's very ill and needed me. I didn't expect to hear about this today. I was just trying to process everything when I left you." "Wait," Sarah interrupted softly, her heart quaking under the weight of his words. "You don't have to explain. I understand family comes first." "I'm grateful you get it," he replied, relief washing over his voice. "But I don't want to leave things unresolved between us. I need to make things right. Can we meet again soon?" Sarah felt the warmth of clarity envelop her. She had fought hard to regain her strength. "Listen, Jason," she said, letting the words spill from her heart. "I need to take my time. I'm not yet ready to dive back into what we had, but I appreciate your honesty." "That's fair. I get that. Just know I'm committed. I'll be here whenever you're ready." As they hung up, something profound settled over her, mixing tenderness with resilience. A voice inside whispered that this wasn't about settling for less or being defined by their past, but about reclaiming her joy. Stepping out onto her porch, she breathed in the fresh air, filled with the sense of blooming flowers under the starlit sky. No longer was she the girl tethered to the shadows of betrayal. She was Sarah, standing tall and ready to explore the beauty life had to offer, not tied to the past but open for the future. Tomorrow would certainly bring challenges, but she felt ready, even excited. Possibilities stretched out before her like a vast open road, inviting and waiting for her to take the first step. That night, Sarah drifted off to sleep with a heart full of hope and a spirit unshackled, understanding now that love wasn't just about holding on. Sometimes, it was about the strength to let go and embrace the new dawn rising ahead. And as she embraced this journey of self-discovery, a smile crept onto her face, echoing the subtle promise that this story was far from over. Now, if you're feeling inspired by Sarah's transformation, you need to subscribe now to keep up with the incredible journey of our stories. This is the moment to show your support. Hit that like button to feed the algorithm and ensure you never miss an update. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this touching ending. You won't want to miss the amazing adventures coming next.